Good evening. This is the Elliott Wave Daily Update for the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100 for Wednesday, December the 4th, 2024. Pretty powerful rallies all around today. The Dow, the NASDAQ, the S&P, and even the Russell managed to put in some of a rally. But the biggest, of course, being in the Dow and the NASDAQ. I'm going to start here with the S&P 500. I'm on the hourly chart, and I continue to feel pretty strongly that we are within minute wave 5, and within that, we're in minuet wave 3. And I've been looking for minuet wave 3 to kind of come to a conclusion here, give us a minuet fourth wave correction, and then get us on back up at minuet 5 to complete this entire sequence. But we've broken levels that really do now suggest that we're likely to go up towards some much higher levels. Now, granted that I had intermediate wave 3, I think I had a lower, let me just see where that may have been, 2.72, but I'm going to put it in a little bit different. I could use 2.72, but I'm going to use 0.882. And let me put that in this yellow. I think it's going to come in way too low. Yeah, it did. And so I've kind of got to go and get it closer to, yeah, actually 3.618 would be next up in terms of fibs, and that's the one that is showing. Now, that does not suggest that intermediate wave 3 would not be complete until we got to 6,241. Again, it breaks down into the pattern, the structure. And again, accordingly to the structure, and let me just bounce out real quick review. We've done intermediate wave 3, intermediate wave 4 was back in August. That was the completion point, August the 5th of 2024. And from that point, we've been inside of a minor fifth wave to reach and complete that minor fifth wave, and in turn that intermediate third wave. So within minor wave 5, we have 5 waves of minute degree, and I'm pretty confident that we're likely within minute wave 4. Now, what I need to add today, which would be the hiccup, and give us that corrective phase that may end up being a little bit bigger. So remember that I was looking forward to top out in intermediate wave 3 and then start that larger intermediate fourth wave correction, which would take us back to those August lows. But in between, we're running into a situation that while I still believe that we're likely within minute wave 5, I've run that alternate, which would suggest that we're still within minute wave 4, and that this initial decline, this initial ABC, was minuet wave A, and this is AB. We're finishing up the C wave for minuet wave B. And if you remember, that's these. So yes, we've gone beyond being that it's going to be flat. We're now up into irregular territory. And we hit that first level today, the 1.236 Fibonacci level, which is where wave B is 1.236% times the length of wave A. And we hit it pretty clean today. Today's high was 6,102.25. This measurement was actually 6,101, we'll call it. So yeah, hitting it on the nose, pretty much. So that's just the lower level. Now, we're starting to correct, but minuscule in terms of what we'd really be looking for here. But if this alternate count jumps out and decides that's the one that's in force, then we'd be looking for this market, and I'll just kind of give you that number, that's taking it that today's high finished it, okay? And then we look at 1.618. And you have to understand where 1.618 comes in, right? So we're looking at that because if we're 1.236, the C wave, if it is still within this minute wave 4, and the C wave is coming down, then the expectation and the fib numbers that we associate with it are 1.618. In other words, wave C would be 1.618 times the length of wave A, and this would be the A wave. So that would suggest we're going to back down to 5781, which is really right in the middle between the 0.382 retracement for that minute 4 and the 50% retracement, again, for that minute wave 4. Let me get rid of this. That has no business being out there anymore. So it is possible, and it still fits within the realm of reality for the move. Now, let's say we have 1, 2, and today we finished minuet wave 3. Difficult, but still very powerful off of Tuesday's lows. Very powerful kind of finish here. In fact, it really, we can go back to Friday. We had a nice Friday, then it came down Sunday. But once Globex continued Sunday to Monday and we got into our own session, it was a nice rally, a nice pullback, and then a finishing rally, I believe. It's not the easiest count, but I can think that it could be 1, 2, and then 3 ends up here, a small 4, and this is the 5th of that third wave, right? So minuet, wave 3. So if we're finishing that, then I think we have that chance of coming back down to the previous 4th, which is right there, 6,045, 6,050. And then we go up again. And that would be, so here's the other measurement. We had another fib, 1.882, for this minuet third wave. And it also hit it on the nose. In fact, that one, let me get a little bit too many in there. That's for the C wave. We can get rid of that for right now. And I want to look at this. It was 6,100. And it got to what, 02? Oh, almost 02. Yeah, it did get 02. 6102. So that again, it hit. So if indeed minuet wave 3 is complete, let's look for a pullback, and it's going to be an ABC. And it could be that, or it could be a zigzag. If we're using the rule of alternation, it's going to be a zigzag. Ding, ding, ding. And that would bring us back to this 4th wave, which is down towards 6,045, 6,050 in that area. And so we really need to get that put in before we crank it up again and we move up to finish this whole move. Now, again, we're looking, all signs pointed that the December rally or the seasonal rally really was running through November, which kind of was late, right? Because here we have November the 11th. So it started off great. Then we had a little correction to the 19th. So, but then since then, the rally has picked up and it's been consistent, and it is taking us into that 1st to 2nd week of December. Whereupon then we're looking for a decline. Pretty much into the end of the year, at least into the end of the year. So that could be this. What I'm hoping is that right now, what we're going to do is finish this up, and the decline into the end of the year is going to be the beginning stages of the intermediate 4th wave. Now, on the other hand, remember, because we still have that alternate here, and the alternate would say, yep, we may decline for the next 2 weeks, but it's just going to be part of a minuet. Not a minuet, excuse me, a minute. So minuet wave C to complete this a minute wave 4. That's still alive. That's still the alternate. But when we start hitting those fibs, And no matter what, we're looking for a pullback off of here. Our first level would be back to 6,050 in that neighborhood. If we go flying through that and just really start to break down, well, then there's that possibility we're going to end up, what did I say? We're right back down in between these 2 points, the 382 and the 50% markers, which still are in existence. That would be for minute wave 4. And guess what? We rally again. Now, if this is the case, then we likely maybe will finish this run up, which would be strange as it seems. If we get up into here, so it's a much smaller 4, and then we get up into here, well, that's going to probably keep it inside of which would be a C wave and still this irregular. So if we're not done with this third wave or this C wave, okay, and that would be the C of the B, then our next level is 6,129, 6,130, a little bit below, a little bit above, and it would be inside there. The next level for minuet wave 3, if it really breaks above 6,100 with some power, well, then we're looking at 6,176. And again, new all-time highs. Never been up here. So how are we going to pick our points? We have no price points. They don't exist. So we have fibs. So that's why you'll start to see, once we start to get like above there, above those highs, it moved much quicker. There's nothing to stop it. So as the individuals, stocks, and whatever begin to trade, well, and they push, it's all going to be, it's like in a black hole. I don't know how to put it. There aren't any price points that we can hang our hat and say, well, that's what they're heading for. So they begin to plug in the different fib levels. And trust me, there are a lot of algorithms and they're using a lot of different Fibonacci combinations. So some of them, I'm trying to use the most common. I've added 0.882, and then its multiples, which is 1.882, 2.882, because that is one that I know a lot of algorithmic programs are using. It is a fib, and so it fits, and we use it. There are lesser known, like 0.146, 0.382, 0.5, 0.786, 0.882. So we have a whole bunch of numbers. And then, of course, they're multiples. So you multiply them. And that's how we get these higher levels. So here's what we got in the S&P. We have the alternate. Again, I'm leaving it as an alternate on the basis that what we're really working towards is to finish this minute fifth wave, which in turn will finish the minor fifth wave, and in turn will finish the intermediate third wave. I'm looking for that to complete. Now, whether it happens this week, next week, or they carry this right through the end of the year, we have additional fib levels. Minute wave 5, by the way, would just be 0.618 of minute wave 1 at 6192. Right? So these are, we still have these much higher levels, right? There's minute wave 1. Run it over to 4, and then we have our calculations for 5. And they're up here. And even 1 is way up here at 64. So is it possible that this could really catch fire and just keep going? It is. It is possible. And is that what I'm looking for? Not necessarily so. I think that I'm looking at my RSI, I'm looking at, you people look at MACDs, and they're all kind of getting overcooked, so to speak. The hourly, the 4-hour, the daily starting to look like, we're getting a little bit overbought. And so when you start seeing some of this stuff, I mean, today in the Dow and then subsequently in the S&P, it got a little strong boost because Salesforce just kind of blew the doors off their own earnings. They were a late report, so not late, but late in the quarter report, or in the sequence. But they did report yesterday. Stock was up 36 today. So that gives this extra boost. So what kind of goes from here is, again, we're still in year end. We saw some strong plays in Apple and managed to give a good solid close above 240. So that kind of leaves open the window for 250, 255, 260. Do I think it can go there? I don't know. Anything is possible, right? We're seeing Meta back above 600. We're seeing Netflix back above 600. A lot of the stocks, Amazon doing really well above 200. So Google recovering from the threat of being broken apart, of having to offload Chrome, and back above one, it's back up towards 175. So again, a lot of year-end posturing. What are we keeping? What are we getting rid of? And they're flipping money from one to the other and back and forth again. And so that's what's going to continue. But right now, it's keeping an upward trajectory on the markets. Let's look at the daily and see where those moving averages are. There really are no changes here, okay? Here, look at these moving averages. Beautiful, all in a row. And the 8 really just tracking the market. But here we have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 basically strong green bars to the upside. We'd kind of be looking for a little bit of a pullback. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4 pullback. 1, 2, 3, 4 pullback. And that would be, here we have 1, that would be a third, and we pull back into 4, and we still have 1 more to go. And that is where 62, 6190 or 6200, or let's do it a little bit differently. These are for wave 3. If wave 3 is in and we're going to come back down, then we're looking at these 6192 to 6275 for minute wave 5. That's if we can get this minute wave 4 in, then we get those. So these are still very much alive. Let's see about that 4th wave. And that's what we're going to look for. And we'll get the clues. The market will let us know. And again, if we start to pull back, you do have price points. One is you got to try to figure, where's this 3rd wave coming in? I think the 3rd wave actually comes in from here, and you can take it right from there to run fibs. And I'll just kind of throw them up there, and you can see what that, nope, that's not what I'm looking for. Get out of there. I wanted this one, add the drawing. That one, thank you. And up to that high. So yeah, you can see our first one is at 236. So we're back down to that 6,073, 6,063, and here's the 4, 50%. Yeah, it's going to come in higher. But that's kind of like the last larger decline brought us in here. It's not horribly unusual, but not so sure. I think we might come in here. We might even come in up to here. But anyway, we need those pullbacks. We need to get the market to consolidate a little bit, relieve some of this overbought, and then make that final thrust higher. So again, if we get the 1, 2, 3, we're looking for a minuet wave 4, as best as I can tell right now, right? We aren't still done with, if we are done with minuet wave 3 here, which is possible, then minuet wave 4 would actually be a little bit different. Let me just recalculate that. If we're looking at that, then it's going to be from here to here. And let me change that around and put that in correctly. So we'd be looking at, for the start of wave 3 up to the top of wave 3, and still 236 brings us right back down to where I was looking for. And then we have 382, which is 27. So I do think we are due for a little bit stronger and more defined pullback rather than one quick bar. But we may not be done putting that finishing touch on wave 3. So we have to allow for some additional upside. Unfortunately, we don't really have any resistance in between until, in my view, until 6128. Now I can break this down. We come down to a 15-minute chart. I imagine I'd be able to put something in together if we're looking at what's inside here. But I do think we're on the start. So price points for support, 60.75, 60.70. We have it all the way down. 60.50, that's the one we're looking at coming down to and hold. And then we have these coming on down here. All right, let's go over and take a look at the NASDAQ. See what that monster is doing. Pretty much the same thing. Let me get off that 15-minute. Let's go out to the hourly chart. This one, again, a little bit of a powerhouse today, right off of Tuesday morning's low, which was at 21,131. It's just been powering up. And these pullbacks have been nice, very tradable, but quick, real quick, hour, and then off to the races. So I think I have one, there's two, and I kind of was putting this as one and this as four. So I was thinking 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is just for wave 3. This kind of internal third wave. I was thinking if I had 1 of 3, 2 of 3, and then this would be 3 of 3. And it's just kind of going too far. So I'm going to have to pull it back out and look at it as if it's from this point and that we're in that minuet third, which is what I was counting anyway. But this internal is maybe getting a little bit off, and I'm going to have to make a different adjustment here. But for right now, this could be a fifth wave. Wave 1 is the shortest. Wave 3 is not the longest. Wave 5 is. But here we are, kicking our heads up against 1.882, and then we have 1.236. So here in the NASDAQ, we also have the irregular B wave, which I pulled back off the shelf just to show you that we're very close to hitting that 1.236, which would put this at A and this at a B wave, right? And this would be a crazy count, but we can get up as high as 1.382, which is 21,689. It's up in there. So yes, we are these are all new all-time highs, but we're kind of getting into what I would call the stratosphere. And on the hourly chart, we remain very overbought, trying to relieve itself, but not really having much success. Here we are on the 4-hour, overbought. And I'll push it out and look at the daily. Here we are on the daily, not quite. New highs, and you'd think that the RSI would be poking its face up into these levels, and it's not. So it's not across the board. So, and what I mean by that, there are 100 stocks in the NASDAQ, in this index, and all of them aren't firing on all cylinders. So therefore, the bigger stocks, in other words, Apple, Meta, Microsoft, they're the ones that are powering up the rally. And that being the case, and NVIDIA, of course, that being the case, you don't have total participation. So this was much more overbought than this is, even though this is higher than that. Now, what can we look for? Well, I think we are due for a little bit larger of a pullback. If I had to say, I'm going to say that this is all of 3. We're getting very close to where it should finish up. We hit the 1.882, which is where wave 5 is 1.882 times the length of wave 1. And so I'm looking for this third, but I'm going to have to pull it back. And actually, it's a very difficult, where would I put it? But if I had to, I would have to bring this down to there, of all places. And that takes it to the moon. You know, we're just way out of line here. So let me get rid of that right now. And I'm going to leave it where I had it for right now. And that was 2.618 we got. Right, just above us, 1.618. Everything else has been really taken out. So all we have left is that 2.618. Oops, get rid of that. Come on. And put this in this color. I know there are all these right there. So our next level, if we break above here, is 21,656. So you see we got a little bit stronger cluster up here as well. So that could extend, and then we pull back, and then we pull back and push, get us a minuet wave 4. So that's why I'm leaving this still here. We're looking for that completion point for minuet wave 3, get the 4 in. And again, because we've rallied so strongly, we have some price points at 21,432, 21,390, but then the strength comes in at 21,130. So where we are, it's a more severe drop, and that I'm not right now not looking for. And then we still have these two sitting out there as the alternate, and it would be an irregular B wave, and that would be the same as in the S&P. This would be wave A of 4, and this would be AB, and we'd be in that C wave of 4. Then we get this, and I still can, I can't really, I don't want to use that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I went it this way, I still actually think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to finish 3. And then we come back down and we go up again. So there's still a lot. I think the NASDAQ has a lot more room to continue to expand on all of this. It's just we don't have many price points to say that should stop it. We got clusters, but those are bigger levels. So they don't have to stop there. We got to go down to what we're doing in here, and that projects much higher. So NASDAQ, let's see what happens. I do think we need to pull back. Let's see if we can get that in. That would be like a max move, but I think we have a 21,430, 21,385. And then dropping all real quick. And that's just because of the strength of the rallies. Let's see what we can get from the market, but I am looking for a little bit of pullback, but I'm also looking for a continuation. So I'm looking for continued run-ups. And let's take a quick look to see what we got coming out tomorrow. In terms of numbers, we have initial jobless claims, U.S. trade deficit. Those are both at 8:30 a.m., and that's going to be it. And then Friday, of course, is the non-farm payrolls, the U.S. employment report. And the next update will be on Thursday, December the 5th.